How much income can I generate in retirement with $250,000 saved for retirement? That's what we're going to look at today on the Your Financial EKG YouTube channel. We're going to go through an exact strategy here in just a minute on how much income you can expect off of $250,000 in retirement using the most popular way to get retirement income. And we're going to factor in things like inflation, Social Security, and taxes. All right, let's look at 5 of the most popular ways to receive income in retirement. Now, the first way is dividends. Now, dividends are when you receive income from a stock, a mutual fund, or an ETF. So that means you own a stock. Maybe you own JP Morgan, or you own Bank of America, or you own Meta, or you own Apple, or you own Johnson & Johnson or GE, and they pay you a dividend, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7%. That is earning and receiving dividends. So if you have $250,000 and you have a dividend of 4%, that means you're going to receive $10,000 annually in dividends. Now, keep in mind, your dividend is based on the amount of shares that you own, not the price of the stock. So if you own 200 shares of a stock at $20 and they pay a 4% dividend, you're going to get 4%. If the stock goes down, your dividend percentage actually increases because the value of the stock has gone down, but you still receive the same amount of money based on the shares that you own. And if you're not receiving the dividends and using those as income, you might have that set up on DRIP, which is called Dividend Reinvestment Plan, meaning that when a dividend is paid, it buys you more stock. Hence, you get more shares of a stock, which means you get more money in dividends. So if you're receiving income in retirement, dividends, probably the most popular, is the first way that you can receive retirement income. Now, when you're thinking about dividends as well, you also want to think about taxes. If it's coming out of an IRA, a 401k, that's considered ordinary income. If it's coming out of a brokerage account, a joint account, an individual account, you've got long-term capital gains, short-term capital gains. When you receive dividends, you have qualified dividends and non-qualified dividends. Qualified dividends are taxed more efficiently, 0, 10, or 15% normally. Non-qualified dividends are taxed at your ordinary income rate. Okay? So you want to understand all that if you're receiving dividends. Now, the second way to receive retirement income off of $250,000 is capital appreciation. Now, capital appreciation is just simply you own a stock, you own a mutual fund, you own an ETF, and it goes up in price. And you sell a portion of that to receive your retirement income. And normally, you're not looking at these strategies as, I'm only going to use this strategy. Normally, you have to have a comprehensive strategy, which is what we're going to look at here in just a minute in a detailed strategy on how to receive retirement income. But capital appreciation means I'm owning this mutual fund, I'm owning this ETF, I own this stock, I believe it's going to go up in value. When it does, or as I have things that go up in value, I sell those and I live off of them. Now, the problem with that is what we call sequence of return risk. Sequence of return risk is the risk that you step into retirement and the market falls the first few years of your retirement, or any time in your retirement, the market goes down in consecutive years. Think 2000 to 2003, 2007 to 2009. So as the market's going down, you're pulling money out of a losing investment. It's like a hamster on a wheel. You're not getting anywhere. You're actually going backwards. And so that's why there's risk involved in trying to say, I'm only going to use this strategy for retirement income in retirement. And that's why we do a financial EKG for our clients, a comprehensive, detailed financial plan, because we want to say, hey, listen, if the market does go down 20% the first year of your retirement, the second year, the 10th year, what is that going to do to your retirement investments? How long is your retirement income going to last? Do you have a blueprint for that? And if you want to get together with us All the details are below. We want to get you to retirement, through retirement, and protect your ability to stay in retirement. Now, the third way that you can receive retirement income, one of the most popular, is rental income, meaning you own a rental property and that you have renters in there and they pay you rental income. Now, a good rule of thumb is you want to earn about 6 to 8% on your rental income, meaning the rental income that you recognize after taxes, after the mortgage is paid, after the expenses, after paying for a new AC or a roof or whatever, you want to recognize about 6 to 8% of that rental income divided into that property value. So rental income is another way that you can receive it. Now, there's pros and cons to both. Pro is real estate is a physical investment. It's something that you have, you can own, you can get in there and dig the dirt. Some of the cons are if you want to be a landlord in retirement, rental income's not always guaranteed. Think 2020 when the pandemic happened and the government said, hey, you can live there for free. You don't have to pay your rental income. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but it did happen within our lifetime. And so rental income is something you really want to make sure that you understand completely, but it is a way to receive income in retirement. Now, the fourth way is an annuity income or a pension. An annuity or a pension is when you give a certain amount of money to an insurance company and they pay you an income for life. For example, $100,000 given to an insurance company right now at 65 would pay about $8,000 a year forever to you. Okay, that's an annuity income. Now, is that the only kind of income that you want in retirement? No. Do you want to have all your money in annuities? No. Are annuities right for you? I don't know. I'm not here to sell you an annuity. We're just talking about retirement income sources, and an annuity or a pension is a form of retirement income that we use in our practice and that others use. Doesn't fit everybody's needs, fits some, doesn't fit others, but it's something we need to talk about. The last strategy is the most risky strategy when it comes to receiving retirement income in retirement. And I don't recommend this strategy unless you are well-versed in the stock market. You are an advanced trader in the stock market, and that is using options, using an option strategy. So when you're using options, you have calls and puts. You can buy calls and puts. You can sell calls and puts. You have various strategies like butterfly strategies or call put strategies. And as you look at this, you can receive premiums for selling your calls and puts, meaning someone pays you, they buy your calls and puts. And when you do that, you receive a form of income called a premium. It's kind of like what JEPI does, JEPI, the ETF does internally. That's why JEPI can pay a dividend so high, because it's using an options strategy to pay that out. Now, that is very risky. It works really well in a volatile environment. It doesn't work well in a stock market that is sideways or is moving just kind of steadily higher. You need to have the market really volatile to generate the premiums that you need. And off of $250,000, you're probably not going to generate the amount of money that you really want for retirement income. That's why it's important to have a strategy that encompasses multiple forms of retirement income, and that is what we're going to get into next. All right, let's look at a detailed strategy. I've got $250,000 saved for retirement. How much retirement income can I generate? We're going to talk about the most popular way to generate retirement income, and that is using dividends. So we're going to look at dividends alone in this strategy. Now, there's some factors to consider when you're thinking about using a dividend strategy or really any retirement income strategy. And there's 5 factors I want to talk about, and then we're going to get into the exact strategy. The first factor is Social Security. When we're talking about how much retirement income can you generate, you also have to factor in any guaranteed forms of income that you're going to get, and Social Security is one of those forms of income. Obviously, you might have a pension as well, so you want to think about this along those same lines. So when we're thinking about Social Security, we have to think about when are we going to claim Social Security, and then how much in Social Security payment are we going to get at the ages that we claim. So for instance, if you claim Social Security at 62, you're going to get 70% of your full retirement benefit if you were born after the year 1960. If you claim at 67, you're going to get 100% of your full retirement benefit. And if you claim at 70, if you're an overachiever, a broccoli eater, you'll get 124% of your full retirement benefit. But what if you're 63? You'll get 75% if you decide to claim at 63. What if you claim at 68? You get 108% of your benefit. What if you claim at 65? You get 86.7%. So it's really important to understand, when am I going to claim Social Security and how much is the payment going to be for my Social Security benefit? So when we're considering these factors, understanding when we're going to claim Social Security is one of the main factors. If you retire at 60, you've got 2 years or 3 years or 7 years or 10 years, right, before you claim Social Security. And so we want to understand that. So in this scenario, we're going to claim Social Security at 67. The couple is 64. We've got Gary and Mary. At 67, Gary's Social Security would be $2,100 and Mary's would be $1,800. That's their full retirement benefit. So we're going to claim at 67. So from 64 to 67, we're not going to have a Social Security benefit. Now, the second thing you want to think about is, what are my expenses going to be in retirement? For them, their expenses are $30,000 a year. So you got to understand what your expenses are going to be. Because keep in mind, in a dividend strategy, and we're going to look at that here in a second on the board, if the dividends don't cover your expenses, you're going to have to sell some of your stock, your dividend-paying stock, to make up the retirement income, depending on when you claim Social Security and what that amount might be. And when you sell the dividend-paying stock, you reduce the amount of shares that you own, which means you reduce the dividend income that you receive. So you want to understand, what are my expenses? So in this case, our expenses are $30,000 a year. We also need to understand, are we single or married? How are we filing our taxes? Right? That's number 4. Single versus married. Are we single? Are we joint filing? Are we going to have 2 Social Securities? Are we going to have 1 Social Security? Is there going to be a spousal benefit? Like, what's going on? So we want to understand, are we single and married? In this scenario, it's married. So we have 2 Social Securities. We're married, filing jointly on taxes. So we have a bigger standard deduction. And our expenses are theoretically higher because we're married. So let's look at this. 64, $250,000 saved for retirement. Now, our dividend on a monthly basis is going to be $833. That's 4% of $250,000. Now, I realize you can maybe get 5, 6, 7. I just want to go with 4. That's a really easy number. And the farther down you go on the dividend scale, 6, 7, 8, 9, the riskier it becomes. Now, I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying you add a little extra risk in. And that's something when we're calculating in a financial EKG and an investment analysis for a client, I'll show them, hey, if we go down the scale 5, 6, 7%, this is the amount of dividends we can get. This is the retirement income we can receive. But this is the risk that it adds to the portfolio. So we're able to see that in real time. We're not able to go, we're not going to go, well, hey, it's going to add a little bit more risk. No, we're able to say, okay, your risk factor right now is a 55, let's say out of 100. But if we go down the scale for some extra dividend, 7, 8, 9, now it takes our risk factor from 55 to 70. And if we put that risk factor into Monte Carlo, and then we look at sequence of return risk, what does that do to our overall retirement income and our retirement savings? Which is why we have the financial plan, the EKG. Again, if you want to get together with us, it's in the details below. So that's why I'm going to use 4%. Now, their expenses are $2,500 a month, so $30,000 a year. Okay. Now, the average expenses for a married couple in retirement is about $55,000 a year. But what I've learned from doing this channel and reading your comments, so please keep commenting, keep smashing the like button, keep subscribing, is that your expenses are actually much less than what the averages say. And maybe that's just the people that follow our channel or whatever, but we're going to use that for this example. So that means we need $1,667 from somewhere, okay? Now, $250,000 saved for retirement is all they got, right? We've got a house, obviously. We've done a full EKG for this couple, so this is just kind of a snapshot on the board. But we have a house, but there's no rental income, there's no part-time job, there's no, pensions. So this $1,667 for the next 3 years, from 64 to 67, is gonna have to come out of this $250. So we're gonna have to sell some shares of our dividend-paying stock. Now we're gonna get dividends, but over this 3-year period, this number is gonna go down because we're gonna have to sell some shares of the stock in order to recognize the expenses that we need. So what you'll see is later on in their plan, we have less dividend income, but it's actually better for them because we understood when we're gonna claim Social Security and we understood our expenses. So 64 to 67, our $250,000 goes to $194,154. Okay, that's where we go. Now, I want to put one caveat in this. The 4% dividend rate is on the $250,000, so that's what it's paying. If we can get 1, 2, 3, 4% rate of return on the money, meaning in the market, then this is gonna last a lot, and this is gonna look really, really good. I'm trying to strip this out just so you can understand how dividends alone work. And that's why we wanna go through the full EKG, because we wanna add in market assumptions, more detailed, to get a better outlook on all this, okay? So again, this is just base case. We go from the board to the software, and that's when you're working with me and we're going through this in a detailed analysis. So we're at 194, 154 at 67 based on the 4% dividends. Now, here's what I want you to notice. See how the dividends went down to 579? Why did it happen? We had to sell some shares of stock. So we sold those shares of stock, but we also took Social Security. Okay, $3,900. That's this right here, right? 3,900, 3,900 bucks at 67. So we delayed until 67. Now, we could have taken it at 64, and if we'd have done that, we'd have gotten 80%, right? If we take it 64, we'd have got 80% of that value there. Does that make sense? I don't know. That's what we do in the software. Again, we're just kind of high level on this right now. So $3,900 is Social Security, which means our expenses are $2,786, right? With inflation, we're looking at a 3% inflation rate on this money, on the expenses. So they've gone from 25 to 27, which means, look, we have a positive cash flow. It's a positive cash flow of $1,711. You see that? Social Security plus the dividend minus the expenses is plus 1,711. So even though our dividend's gone down, we've claimed Social Security at the right time. And look at our money from 67 to 77, $346,509. And that's with a rate of return of 0 on the money outside of dividends. So all we're looking at this point is dividends. We're not even looking at rates of return on the money. That's why I wanted you to see this stripped down, how powerful it is to understand when am I going to claim Social Security? What are my expenses? Single versus married, taxes and market loss. Understanding those factors is critical when you're thinking about claiming retirement income. You want to have a plan, right? We want to have a plan because Proverbs tells us this. Proverbs 24 says, do your planning before you build your house. So if the wisest man in the world tells us to do our planning before we build a house, we should probably do that before we go into retirement as well. All right, so I hope this has helped. Now, let's go to a single scenario. All right, how much will $250,000 generate for me in retirement if I am single? Now, does it matter if you're single or married versus how much it can generate? No, but there are some things that are different if you're single. What is that? Well, your expenses are all on you. Your Social Security is one check. And basically, your retirement is me, myself, and I, right? Like the old movie with Jim Carrey. That was a pretty bad movie, kind of like Cable Guy, but it's whatever. So here we go. We got Gary, he's 64. Now his Social Security at 64 would be $1,680 a month. We're looking at 4% dividends off of this $250,000. Now, keep in mind, he's retiring at 64. So he's going to get 80% of his Social Security full retirement benefit. Now, if he were to wait until 66, it would be 93.3. If he took it at 67, it would be 100. At 70, it would be 124%. But based on his expenses, which we're going to show you, which is $2,500 a month. So based on his expenses and based on just the timing of his retirement and not wanting to work, a part-time job or anything like that, it makes the most sense for him to claim Social Security at 64. So let's look at this. So we've got $250,000 saved for retirement. We've got dividends of $833 per month. We have expenses of $2,500 a month, and we're taking Social Security of $1,680 per month, which means we need $5 a month more out of our investments. But that doesn't sound like a whole lot. But we're going to put inflation of 3% on this money here, this $2,500 in expenses. And we're only going to consider the 4% dividend yield on this $250,000. We are not going to put any kind of rate of return on the stock itself. For example, if you owned General Mills or Kimberly-Clark or AT&T, and it was paying you a dividend, and the stock share price went from $10 to $12, that's market appreciation, as well as you got the dividends from the shares. But I want to break this down to the the lowest level and just say we're only going to get the dividends. And then I'm going to show you what would happen if we put a rate of return on it. So with inflation, and obviously Social Security gets a COLA as well, so we're going to have a COLA on Social Security as well. We're going to have to take out $5 a month, but that's going to grow over a 10-year period. From 64 to 74, our $250,000 goes to $126,004. Okay, now keep in mind on this as well, we have taxes on this money. So the dividend's coming out and it's being taxed as ordinary income, okay? Because most of this money's in his 401k. And so if it's coming out and they're paying taxes on it, that means that you've got to pay for your expenses. It's over and above is going to the government. So we're recognizing $2,500 for ourselves. That's net. So that's why you're seeing this kind of come down like it does. That's one of the factors you have to be thinking about. Taxes. Now at 74, we've got $126,004. Now our dividend's gone down to $374 a month. You see that from $833 to $374. Why is that? Well, in order to get the income that we need to live, we've had to sell some shares of stock, which means we get less dividend. And because we get less dividend, the money goes down that we receive on a monthly basis, which means we got to pull more money out of this $126,004 from capital appreciation. Remember, we're looking at that at zero right now. Now, expenses have gone from $2,500 to $3,511 or $3,581. That's compound interest at its worst, right? We like compound interest the other way, right? Putting money into your 401k, dollar cost averaging. I always say God's greatest gift outside of Jesus. Jesus is God's greatest gift, but outside of that is compound interest, which is amazing. Now, Social Security goes from $1,680 to $2,204. So now we've seen Social Security go up as well. That's the cost of living adjustment for Social Security. But now we've got to pull out $839 from our portfolio. So we're getting our dividends, we have expenses, and we've got Social Security. This is what has to come out of our our 126. It was $250,000. Now it's our 126, and at 84, we're at zero, which is pretty good. Lifetime tables for males are 77 in America. So that's 84 is at a zero. Plus, again, this is just kind of a base case. We've done a full financial EKG for Gary. We've got a house and we've got other things going on. So we're not really worried about this because there's other factors that we're going to calculate in, but we've just got to see if it's going to work first. Then we go into the software. That's why we do a financial EKG for clients, to get them to retirement, through retirement, protect their ability to stay in retirement. If you want more details, go below. We can look at that. Now, keep in mind a 2% rate of return on this money, a 2% rate of return. If we were to give this $250,000, a 2% rate of return plus the dividend, right? We get the dividend, but we also make 2% on the stock, ETF mutual fund. Now we go from 84 to 85. That's pretty good, just 2%. That's not too bad, right? That's like just hit singles and doubles. Pete Rose just passed away when I'm recording this video. Man, he could get on base swinging a stick. So again, 2%, just be Pete Rose. 4%, if this 250,000 grows at 4% using all this same data, it gets us to 93. So you see how this is not complicated. It's not hard. It's not something to be scared of. We just need to have a plan. Remember, Proverbs 24 says, before you build the house, make a plan. Make a plan. And that's what we're doing. So I hope this video has helped. Thank you for watching. God bless. Bye-bye.